And just like that, October is ending. Have you accomplished your 2023 New Year's resolutions? Well, you still have 2 months to start or continue your quest. Hello there, and thank you so much for joining us inside Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson, your host for today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Be part of policy development at the PIOJ Dialogue for Development, Wednesday, November 1 at 10 a.m. Hear about policy imperatives for sustainability with sociologist Heather Ricketts, economist Christine Clark, and ecologist Dale Weber. And at 2 p.m. we discuss transforming our society through technology with ICT consultant Trevor Forrest, CEO of EduFocal Gordon Swaby, and directors of HYC Medical Drs. Fairclough and Core. Reserve your virtual space now at pioj.gov.jm.
Uterine fibroids are benign tumors of the uterus. That's in medical terms. In layman terms, they are masses that grow on the uterus or on the womb of a woman, and they can grow to various sizes. You can have one, you can have multiple. And the most important thing patients tend to ask is, are these cancerous? So benign means it's not cancerous.
Medical experts will tell you that the root causes may not be so clear, but there are certain factors that are most likely to account for this issue impacting women.
We believe a lot of women who have it actually do because of genetics. So if your mother or your sister or you have a strong family history of uterine fibroids, it's quite likely that you're at risk of having uterine fibroids as well. We also believe that they tend to pop up more so when your hormones are very active. So that's why it presents in those patients in their reproductive age. So once you get to your 20s, 30s, 40s, that's when you would expect fibroids to start to show up. It may be occurring in response to your diet. So if you have a poor diet, high in red meat, highly processed foods, very little fruits and vegetables, we believe that that impacts on the presence of fibroids and definitely the growth of fibroids.
Meet Raquel Bailey, whose unfortunate journey with uterine fibroids lasted for almost 9 years.
I was around 27, touching 28, and I went for my regular female checkup. When they did the ultrasound, they said everything was fine, but there was a point that he could not see beyond. So he decided to go do it vaginally. And that's when he found the fibroid on top of my uterus. I was saying to myself, it's hard. I'm not sure if I can get pregnant with it. I was worried about conception, of course, and I was worried about if it is cancerous or anything, because at that point I wasn't sure what fibroids was. I knew it ran in my family, but back then they didn't call it fibroids. My tummy began to grow, especially the top part, since it was resting on top. So my tummy began to protrude. And of course, when I had my period, the pain was severe. I had to the point that I even had to lie on the floor to get a little bit of relief from it. Yeah, my clothes couldn't fit much because of the tummy hanging over.
The symptoms occur dependent on the size of the fibroids, the location of the fibroids, and also dependent on what else is happening to the patient otherwise, right? So common symptoms related to size are, if the fibroids are very big, then the woman looks as if she looks pregnant. So she notices that her tummy is growing, the waist of the clothes start to fit her a bit differently. She might start to have what we call compressive symptoms. Based on the location of the uterus, it can press on the bladder, which is in the front, and that's where your urine is. So you might find that you're complaining of more frequent urination. You're going to the bathroom to pee all the time, right? Another thing is that your bowel is at the back, behind your uterus, so you may get constipated. Again, because your nerves come from behind, from the spine backwards, then you can also have compressive symptoms on nerves around there, and some patients come with back pain. Because it is close to where the blood vessels go down into our legs and the nerves go down into our legs, Some people complain about pain radiating all the way down to their legs, as well as swelling. If the fibroids are on the inner side of the uterus or within the muscle of the uterus, that's where your period comes from now. So those patients tend to complain about heavy bleeding. Bleeding that is lasting more than a week, more than the average period. They're soaking through pads in an hour, in 2 hours, messing up themselves, right? That causes a lot of social embarrassment. Not only that, but if you're bleeding that heavily, then you start to get symptoms of anemia. So you start to feel weak, dizzy, you might actually faint. Another symptom that patients can present with is pain. So if the fibroids grow to a certain size, then they start to outgrow the blood supply that comes from outer to inner. And sometimes they can, what we call, degenerate, and that causes patients to have a lot of pain.
I got married, and my husband and I spoke, and I said to him, all right, I don't want to do the surgery, have any surgical procedure done on me, just in case that they found more and they had to take out the entire thing. So I wanted to try and conceive before doing the myomectomy. Then I got pregnant in the February of 2021. That's when the fibroids became aggressive. It grew and it grew and it grew. I looked so much like I was full-term pregnancy when I was only 4 months pregnant. So it was very aggressive. I was really sick in the first part of the pregnancy, so much so that I was labeled a high-risk patient. After having my baby, I went to the doctor to do my regular checkup, and Dr. Madam was saying to us when we decided to take out the fibroids. So I told her we were waiting on her. She said, no man, the decision is yours. So I said to her, all right, maybe we can do it now. I was there touching my tummy, because when I went in, it was huge, huge. It was like a full baby. It was the size, the fibroid was the size of a basketball. It was, yeah, and there were 3 others, so it was 4 fibroids. And she took it out, and when she took it out, she said everything went well, and my uterus, it's healthy. That's the word she used. The best part of my journey having fibroids is hearing that there are treatment options available.
So fibroids can be treated in a number of different ways, but really and truly, treatment should be aimed at the patient's symptoms as well as what their future fertility desires are. Now, if you are having bleeding problems and the size of the fibroid is not significant, then we can entertain giving you medical management to try and maintain the bleeding to a level that is acceptable. So sometimes that involves using tablets. There are some NSAIDs that we use for that. There are hormonal tablets that we can use. There's also the hormonal injection that we can use to help to reduce the amount of bleeding that you are having. If it is that you are having a problem with pain and size, then that's where surgery comes in. A lot of the patients ask, why doc, I don't really want to do surgery. I'm not ready to do surgery. And they ask if there's anything that can be used to shrink the fibroids. There are medications out there that have been used to shrink fibroids, but they don't maintain the fibroid at that size for the rest of your life. And they can only be used for a short period. If they are not so large but they are plentiful and they're causing you significant symptoms like your blood count is really low, you're frequently missing work, it really interrupts with your daily living, then we would recommend doing surgery. And surgery involves either removing the fibroids only, or we can remove the uterus in total. Now that decision is a big decision. If you have finished having your children, you don't want to have any more kids, then clearly removing your uterus is okay.
What I learned coming out of this entire experience is that I should not be afraid of my doctor, all right, or doctors in general. The gynecologists, they are there to help you. Visit them, have an annual or your regular routine checkup. It is to ensure that you have a healthy life.
breast cancer affects millions of women and men each year. Yes, even males. As we celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we encourage you to screen for the disease. This includes self-examinations and mammograms. Remember, early detection saves lives.
On Get the Facts this week, the discussion is on drug abuse prevention for young people. Watch now as the National Council on Drug Abuse updates us on its interventions to tackle this issue.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Drug abuse is a real and present threat to any society. Now, can you imagine the detrimental impact of a torn family dealing with the loss of a child to drugs, or the myriad consequences for untreated adult users? The intervention work for youth is a focal part of the fight to prevent drug abuse. Here to tell us about the National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA's efforts to increase drug abuse awareness among our youth is research analyst Uki Atkinson. Welcome to the program, Ms. Atkinson.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's jump right into it. The NCDA's mission, drug abuse, preventing drug abuse among youth. Could you expand that for us?
Yes, so what we aim to do is to delay the onset of drug use as late as possible among youth, because the earlier young people start to use drugs, particularly if they start before the age of 15,
right,
and if they start this use in a habitual manner, is the higher the likelihood that they will have problematic use later on in life. And so what we aim to do is to increase their awareness and knowledge on the different kinds of drugs that exist, the impact of the drugs, how it is that they can determine different drugs.
Right.
Now, awareness alone does not change behavior. And so knowledge, yes, is important, but we also need to build their skills in terms of being able to make decisions. How do you make a decision when faced with the temptation or the influence to use a substance? So decision making, okay, yes, problem solving, right, all of those things are very important.
Stress management?
Stress management in particular, yeah, because a lot of young people have outlined that the reason why they use these substances is to cope with difficulties in their lives.
Stress.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Right. All right, so your title, research analyst.
Yes.
So some research has been done.
Absolutely.
Could you tell us about the current studies that the NCDA is tackling?
Okay, so there are a range of studies that we conduct among the youth population, most of which are school-based, in collaboration with the WHO and PIOJ and the Organization of American States. Mm-hmm. Those studies include the Global School-Based Health Survey, the GSHS, the Global Youth Tobacco Survey, and we also have a National Drug Prevalence Survey that covers the age group 12 to 65 years of age.
Okay.
Now, it is important for us to determine what trends are among the school-age population, adolescents 13 to 17 in particular.
Right.
And we have conducted the GSHS in 2010, 2017 was the last one, and the next study is to be conducted next year. However, we just completed a National Drug Prevalence Survey, which is a household-level survey, which will give us an idea of what the broader prevalence and patterns of drug use looks like. The last time we did that one was 2016. And what we've seen successively is that alcohol is a drug that is most widely used by the population, by our youth, yes, right, followed by tobacco and cannabis. We know that there are some new substances in the drug markets, and Jamaica is not excluded from that. And so the whole issue of MDMA, otherwise called Molly, right, is something that is concerning to the council. And there are other substances which are under the portfolio of what are called new psychoactive substances, for which early warning systems are needed in our territory to be able to identify these substances, chemically analyze them to see what they are, and be able to put out notifications to identify threats that are in our midst.
I notice you say are needed.
Absolutely.
Not in place yet.
No, but we just last week we had a workshop with over 60 participants from a range of stakeholder groups, which include law enforcement, customs, forensics, medical professionals, education, a broad range, drug professionals, treatment professionals, to be able to understand how it is that everyone has a role to play in the identification of these new substances, and how it is that we can collaborate together to be able to act on the emergence of these drugs.
So we're going to continue our discussion after this break with a deeper look at the NCDA's work in schools. Please stay with us.
The Planning Institute of Jamaica returns with the Dialogue for Development Lecture, Thursday, November 2 at 10 a.m. Stanford University Fellow and Dean Emeritus of NYU Stern School of Business, economist Dr. Peter Blair Henry will speak on the theme Beyond 60, Evolving, Innovating, Inspiring. That's the PIOJ Dialogue for Development Lecture, 10 a.m. November 2. Reserve your virtual space at pioj.gov.jm.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're continuing our discussion on drug abuse prevention for Jamaica's youth. Our guest is research analyst at the National Council on Drug Abuse, Uki Atkinson. Lady Atkinson, diving back into this scenario that we ended on, that incident in Ocho Rios, what was the NCDA's response?
So firstly, the NCDA was there on the day of the event. We were at the hospital. We have a substance abuse officer in each parish, and she was instrumental the following day in providing sensitization to parents, students, teachers, and the school, generally the school community, on what it is that occurred. What are these new products, and how it is that we can be more vigilant in picking them up. In addition to that, she has the NCDA has initiated interventions in surrounding schools. In addition, we have trained over 100 guidance counselors from Region 3, that's St. Anne and Trelawney, in screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment for drug abuse or for drug use. It is necessary for the education sector to understand, for teachers, for school personnel more broadly, to understand how it is, what does drug use look like, what is it that I can do as an immediate action to be able to respond to issues like these.
Because where the children are spending a lion's share of their time at school. I'm glad you mentioned the parents, and I am curious about that. Like, what are some of the ways in which parents are being sensitized?
So we do have a family-based program called the Lighthouse. Lighthouse is not just about telling parents how to talk to your children about drugs. Lighthouse is about building family bonding as a protective factor for drug use. So we cover things from as far as, parental participation in their children's lives, things like supervision, things like rules, things like having discussions about substance use with the children. And what we have found in our studies is that parents who are participating more in their children's lives, those children are way less likely to use a variety of substance than those parents and those children whose parents, are not necessarily around. So the encouragement is we have structured programs, we have, sensitization sessions, presentations. We do a lot to target parents. But the problem is parents who we most need are the ones who are least likely to participate. And I don't think that's unique to the NCDA.
That's true.
I think that is a reality that we face across different issues, different social issues.
So is the NCDA building out the capacity to actually, if they won't reach out?
Then we go to them. We go to them, and we find creative ways. We have sporting activities, things that are not drug-focused, but things that will pull people out in the community for them to participate.
Understood. I want you to toot the NCDA's horn a little bit more. Like, what results are you seeing from all these efforts?
So I can tell you, there are so many efforts. It's multi-level, right? So we want to increase awareness. we have seen where over 80% of some of the participants in our awareness building sessions have increased knowledge. We have seen changes in intentions to use. So you may have a youngster or youngsters who, you know, they're on the fence about using substances, but after interacting with our programs, they've made a decision not to.
Right.
And in the long term, things like prevalence, where you look at, you know, all right, it's 40% at this period, but now it's gone down to 38%. We have to celebrate those small victories because we operate in a space with significant competing messages.
Yes.
So socio-culturally, let's just talk about social media.
Right.
Social media, there's a plethora of content.
Unregulated content.
Unregulated that glorifies the use of substances, that tells them how to access it, where to get it. There is our music, and we have to talk about that because it's the truth.
It is.
The young people tell us that they're influenced by the kind of lyrics that our artists, not just locally, but also, you know, North American artists, they glorify the use of substances. And so when we're doing prevention, really what you want to be able to do is not just about NCDA, but you want parents to be giving the same message. You want schools to be giving the same message. You want the community. You want public education. It is multifaceted.
Positive reinforcement.
Yes.
So preventing drug abuse is one thing, but there are people who have already crossed that boundary. Is rehabilitation a concern for the NCDA?
Yes, it is. It is actually one of our main thrusts in order to, okay, yes, we prevent among some, but there are those who need additional support. And so we have a whole treatment program for which we have had 685 youth referred to our treatment program since January 1st of this year. A majority of those referrals have come from the school systems. Others have come from child diversion, courts, etc. And it's not to say that all 685 are problematic users. Some may have been caught with a substance at school, or they may, you know, be experimenting or a little bit more than experimenting.
Right.
And what we do is we conduct screening and assessments to determine, you know, what is the level of intervention that these persons need. For many of our clients, there are other social issues going on with them that need to be settled. For some of them, there are mental health issues that need to be settled before the NCDA can effectively or successfully treat them. Now, one of the things that we want to outline is the fact that treatment is not an event. It is something that occurs over time, and it is something for which, you know, total abstinence, yes, that is the goal, but there are times when a reduction in use is something to be celebrated. So you may be smoking 10 ganja spliffs a day, and you reduce to 2 or 1. That is progress.
We chalk it up.
Yes.
All right. I wish we had more time, but we're in the final seconds of this interview. I understand that November is Drug Awareness Month. I'd like you to speak directly to our audience and just share some of the NCDA's plans and whatever else you'd like to share in the last few seconds.
Okay. First of all, I'll say that the NCDA is celebrating 40 years of existence this year. And as the agency responsible for public education, research, and so on, we are quite proud of the significant impact that we have had on the population. For this Drug Awareness Month, our theme is drug-free lifestyle trending, which has like a youth thrust. We are focusing on our youth. We are implementing or launching a National Youth Advisory Council. We will be doing town hall meetings. We have the launch of a public education program, which you'll see more of in the coming months. And we are also doing the tree planting. We have 40 trees per region across our 3 regions because of our awareness of the importance of the environment. And we will also be releasing the results of the National Drug Prevalence Survey so that people can understand and be aware of what this whole context in terms of drug use, what are the drugs that are being most widely used, and what are the dynamics associated with that. Things like risk perception and access and availability, all of that information will be released over time.
All right. It's a full month celebrating and advancing the awareness of drug abuse prevention and awareness by the NCDA. So this has been Get the Facts. Our guest was research analyst at the National Council on Drug Abuse, Uki Atkinson. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
Get involved as we transform education for national development. Join the Ministry of Education and Youth at the Jamaica College Auditorium for a town hall meeting on Thursday, November 2 at 6 p.m. Let your voice be heard as we discuss ways to reform the education sector for a brighter tomorrow. That's a town hall meeting on education transformation. Come or connect to our live stream on the JIS, MOEY, and PBCJ social media platforms. Transforming education for national development for a brighter tomorrow.
There is a question about foreigners coming in and owning businesses and building roads and buying. The truth is that we have an open economy, and once the economy is doing well, what you want is for people to come and not just invest in your country, but to come and live in your country. Remember now, the investments that come can be exploitative. They can come and just take back out their money, right? But what is it that we need to do to keep the money in Jamaica? In the same way that you come here and you may send back something to Jamaica, but you keep your money here. You buy houses here, you buy cars here, you send your children to school here. Why is it that people choose to come here to live and make a living? We can make Jamaica into that place of choice for people to live, work, do business, raise their family, and retire in paradise. That is what we want to do. That is the Jamaica you want to create. Eventually that you can say, you know what? I have a choice. I'm going to go back to Jamaica. Nobody else can own Jamaica but Jamaicans. We own Jamaica politically. We own Jamaica socially. And we want Jamaicans to control the commanding heights of the economy as well. But we want our economy to be big, that we can bring in everybody else to participate in our economy. That is the vision for Jamaica.
The public sector touches the life of every single Jamaican. And that is why the government is transforming the way the public sector operates by making better use of technology to improve the delivery of public services, by improving the compensation of public sector workers to attract and retain the skills needed to run a modern and efficient public service, through the training of workers to drive performance, innovation, and decision-making, by reducing waste and eliminating corruption, and other measures to make sure the country gets the best value from every dollar spent. The government of Jamaica is building a better public sector for all.
And just like that, we're signing out for today. But not to worry, you can rewatch this offering or other content like this by visiting our website, jis.gov.jm. Do join us again tomorrow on this same station as we bring another informative, educational and entertaining package of Jamaica Magazine. Until then, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.